Now call meeting of the Waco City Council on September 19th, 2023 to order at 3 p.m. Please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of items the speaker wishes to address. If you're here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the city secretary, staff at the registration table outside the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation. Those will be distributed to council. And if you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Is there anyone present who would like to speak on a work session item? If not, then please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, sorry.
Not doing that.
Continue.
We'll do that later. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of the 6 o'clock. Did anybody stand up though? Okay. Seeing no one is registered to speak, we will now recess the regular session and convene to work session with a report from our Deputy City Manager, Deidre Emerson.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. And Mayor, that just showed you the power of your words because everyone was about to leave.
Sorry about that.
So on today's agenda, there are a couple of changes that we need to make this afternoon. One regarding the boards and commissions item, and the second regarding the NOC, or National League of Cities, appointment of Councilmember Bearfield to the Race, Equity, and Leadership Council. Both of these changes are at your place.
I just want to say how much I appreciate Councilmember Bearfield serving in this role. She represents us really well at the national platform, and there's no one I can think who is better suited to serve in these roles. Your competency, your heart, and your leadership is a real gift to our community, a real gift to this council, and a real blessing to me. So thank you for your leadership.
And so we do have an employee recognition this afternoon. I'd like to recognize our team at the library as well as the members who served on the selection committee for their great work on Hispanic Heritage wall displays that were unveiled on Friday at the South Waco Library for the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. We had a great turnout for the event, and we're proud of how this project turned out. The wall displays and rotating digital signage honor a total of 30 influential Hispanic Wacoans. Many of their family members and friends were present at Friday's event for the unveiling. Library staff, Essie Day, Sean Sutcliffe, the local history librarian, Amy Nuttall, collection development librarian, Kayla Jackson, the South Waco Library manager, and then committee members, Councilmember Alice Rodriguez, Eric Terrazas, and Mr. Luis Garcia.
If I may say a little bit on, and
Please.
It was an awesome display. Thank you, Sean, Essie, all the staff that worked for 8 months to get all this together. But the turnout was amazing. It was packed. There wasn't enough places for people to sit, so they all stood outside. But there were so many people that were so emotional that day when they saw their relative honored in a big way. They were all crying, and it made me cry. And of course, Joe, my husband, was honored, and my uncle Nieves, who was the first Hispanic police officer. That was emotional for us. My family took a picture with under his picture. My uncle Joe, and well, we called him Nieves, but it was an awesome project, and it was so emotional for a lot of us. And like I told them at that day, this is a small step, but it will be a giant step in the future. So we will continue to recognize the people that made it so easy for folks like me to walk in through a door that was fought by other folks for me to come in. And so we need to make folks understand how important this day was for the Hispanic community. So I want to thank the city staff, my council members who supported this effort. So thank you all very much.
That's great.
Let me just say, I mean, it was a beautiful day. I mean, the research team and the library staff continue to do an amazing job. You knocked this one out of the park, per usual. I'll say this, I was telling Councilmember Rodriguez, I was walking around, you know, just watching people experience the day. And there's a woman on the phone, and she was looking up at one of the pictures, and she was like, you know, I just don't even know what to say. I didn't know that this was what it was gonna be. Well, it was the young woman who restored the photos. And she had no idea what it was going to be. She just came in to do her job. And she was like, she had no words, she was in tears. And I approached her afterwards, I said, my apologies for ear hustling. But I heard what you said, and I said, and I just want you to know, you know, your impact, you know, in this historical moment. And I'm grateful for your skill, because I understand that some of those pictures were hard to restore, but they looked amazing up on the walls. They will look amazing for our community to view every time they visit South Waco Library. This is a reason there were some people, one of my former board members, she had never been in South Waco Library, but this brought her there. And so I think that that's one of those things that will carry on, and as you said, continue for generations to come. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add that I know Councilmember Bearfield and I served with both Luis Garcia and Joe Rodriguez on the Plan Commission, and Joe and I served on the zoning board, and now to be able to serve with Alice Rodriguez, it's wonderful, these living links we have with the rich Hispanic history of this city and this county, and the library staff and Councilmember Rodriguez did such a wonderful job of identifying those individuals worthy of being displayed permanently and on the digital display, and it was a very emotional and very profound moment. And I'm grateful for our fellow council member and her leadership in this effort as well.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
I agree. I think y'all said it well. It was an incredibly important day, a meaningful day, and we can never forget our history. It defines who we are today. And I appreciate staff's effort and to do this really meaningful work, and I look forward to seeing other projects like this in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, staff, library staff. Y'all need to stand up and let us clap for you.
Amen.
Come on.
Thank you. So today's agenda, all 800-plus pages. Just as the beginning of the reflection of the budget that you all adopted back in late August. And so on the agenda, there are two informal reports for your review and consideration. IR 696, which provides an update on the strategic housing plan implementation, including the 4 task groups that have been formed and a summary of their work that has been completed to date, along with the overview of upcoming tasks.
Any questions on that? Thank you.
And then there's IR 697 that lays out the next steps for the 25th Street Corridor Implementation Plan. At the August 15th meeting this year, Council approved entering into an agreement or contract with Kimley Horn and Associates to develop this implementation plan. A steering committee has been selected along with a technical advisory team, and the project is tentatively scheduled to kick off in early October. We have 10 public hearings today. Clint Peters, Director of Development Services, will highlight our planning public hearing items in the work session. And we also have public hearing 715 that approves and adopts an updated service and assessment plan for providing improvement and services in Waco Public Improvement District 1. We have a total of 72 resolutions today, and I will highlight a few of them for you this afternoon. Resolution 740 approves a professional services agreement with Perkins and Will, Inc. to perform architectural services for the Bledsoe Miller Community Center project. This work will allow us to envision the conversion of this facility into our community STEAM center. I have to say, I actually smiled myself when I read that one, so.
I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything, because you already know.
Okay. I won't highlight any specific one, but because we don't have favorites, but we do have 8 outside agency contracts on your agenda for your consideration tonight. There are 9 ordinances today, all of which are second readings. Mayor and council, that concludes my report for today, and I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Deidre? The consent agenda includes resolutions 2023-716 through 787. Are there any items that council would like to remove from the consent agenda? If not, then the consent agenda will include resolution 2023-716 through 787, except for 727, 733, 734, 735, 741, and 747, as Councilmember Borderoot has filed an affidavit of substantial interest on these items. The next item on the agenda is work session 2023-698 through 701. Deidre, would you please introduce the first work session?
Work session is the discussion of the City of Waco branding project, and Monica Settlemeyer and representatives from Loyal Casper are here, and Monica will introduce this work session.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Monica Settlemeyer, Director of Communications and Marketing, and I'm very excited to be here with you this afternoon to talk about the recommendations that we have been working on our branding project. Today, I've got joining me Anna with Loyal Caspar, and additionally, I do have Christina virtually joining us, and I think there's might be a couple other members from Loyal Caspar as well that are on virtually. So we have been working on this branding project to define and differentiate the City of Waco's identity since March. This project aimed to convey impactful visual and written materials by creating a more encompassing and consistent picture of our city's rich history, diverse community, and vision for the future. Since March, the team at Loyal Caspar, along with their partner Versa, engaged in research throughout the community to obtain feedback on the current image of Waco. They conducted an audit of the current brand elements that we are using today, developed a brand identity and strategy, and today they're here to present their recommendations. And I'll turn it over to Anna.
Hello. See if I can, hang on. Let's try this one. There we go. All right. Okay, great. It's nice to be back in Waco, and we're excited to present the work we've been doing over the last several months. I also wanted to start by reintroducing Christina, just to give you guys a little bit of foundations on how we started this project and some of the research that we conducted to get to this place. So Christina, if you would like to say hi.
Of course. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to be back. As both Monica and Anna said, we really tried to immerse ourselves in the city and all of your stakeholders to really gain a true understanding in order to create a strategic foundation, a foundation of research in order to inform all of our work. And so we started that process off with really deploying our team across the city. So when we came in to stay, we were all there for about a 7-day period. We did a ton of conversations both before and after. But during that immersion, we really spread out to really appreciate and understand the city. So everything from staying in a traditional B&B in Sanger Heights to an Airbnb in Northeast Riverside, to a home in the Austin Avenue district, to staying downtown. We really tried to immerse ourselves in different neighborhoods to really kind of get a different look and feel. We spoke to countless people. As the slide before said, we had multiple stakeholder interviews prior to coming out to really try to understand key stakeholders and their opinion about the current branding of the city and where you all wanted to go and the vision for the future. We also deployed a number of surveys, both with the communications staff in-house, but also really wider across community leaders, faith leaders, entrepreneurs, neighborhood associations, really trying to delve into each of the unique pockets of the city. We also ran a community survey, which we're pleased to have had over 1,000 responses, and that really was the community at large, including residents, students, workers, visitors. We offered the survey in both English and Spanish, and again, we're really pleased with the responses there. And so, and I apologize, the next slide kind of gives you a map of really the breadth of all of the places that we visited. We ran a booth at the Bridge Street Farmers Market so that we could speak firsthand to residents ourselves, and we were promoting our survey. We visited local businesses, speaking to both owners, those that work there, as well as patrons. We did all the touristy things you could possibly imagine, all the M's, right? Mayborn, Magnolia, Mammoth. We also saw the Texas Ranger Museum, the Welcome Center, again, all of the hot spots. We also had the pleasure of touring the city with both the Hispanic and African American Chambers of Commerce. We got to immerse ourselves in the Elm Street Improvement Project. We saw heritage sites like St. Francis Church and La Pila. And of course, in our downtime, we kind of explored even more, ran the trails of Camden Park all the way to MCC, explored the Richmond Mall, ate sometimes too many times a day to try to tick off all the restaurants, but really left feeling a true appreciation of the city and its people. So yeah, just wanted to start off by saying thanks for the opportunity and for your hospitality in that process.
Thank you, Christina. So we'll be looping back with Christina again. First, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of foundations for the visual work that we did, and then we'll see how that kind of can come together with some of the strategy towards the end of this presentation. Speaking about brand DNA, we're talking about kind of the visual identity building blocks, basically the elements that you guys can all use in the city to be able to communicate in a cohesive way. Our evolving city brand provides new tools and structure, but finds its roots in the historical legacy of Waco, and that really starts with, as you guys all know, this very familiar Flying W, right? So when we took a look at the Flying W, we wanted to maintain this and use this as an inspiration. We did a little bit of work to update it, partly just for the digital world that we live in. A lot of times logos need to live really small and tiny little avatars, and we like to clean them up so that they can work everywhere really well. So what we basically did is we thickened some of the lines a little bit. We made it a little bit more geometric so that it nestles that star in a perfect circle. So just a couple little remastering there, but keeping it as it was for the most part. And then as we looked to pair this with a typeface, we wanted to create something custom that really came from that and that could sit nicely next to it. Because it's a complicated mark, we wanted that to be simple enough and not to compete with the W when we have the word Waco next to it. So, we borrowed from the angles in the star and created a nice bold word mark that works well at all sizes. And as it has some of the same spirit as the wide, outwardly reaching W. It's not tight or compressed feeling, so we like the sort of spirit of it. And then we compare that with City of, which is a typeface that we'll use across the system that we'll get into in a moment. So just as we look at the different lockups, we tried to create a system that gives a lot of flexibility. We have on the left, there's one that works well over photography. And then as you see it used across different elements, whether it's an email signature or stationery, there's different formats that can work for your teams. And we provide a lot of different guidance about how you use type so that everyone's communicating cohesively. Looking across the landscape of cities, we wanted to position Waco so that we're still using something from your heritage, and we feel like you're connected to Texas with Star and with the Flying W, but there's also a modernness to it. I feel a little bit akin to the vibe of Fort Worth, maybe more than sort of an older seal. But one thing to add is we do have a part of our branding system, that uses the Flying W in a seal, and this, I'll get into this in a moment, how this allows us to have the departments have a part in all of this as well. So you can place the City of Waco like this, and it can operate, say, for everyone on a business card. But then you also have a way of having basically a mark for all the different departments. And it's a very flexible system that's also cohesive. So instead of having all the departments trying to have their own logos that can compete with each other, you can all be under one primary banner. Now, we recognize that, and here's just a little context shot over for you. Some of the departments do communicate quite a bit. So Parks and Rec, for example, or Economic Development. Those guys, we have their own color, and we also have an icon system. So we've created a system that could be expanded in the future. If a department needs to have a mark, that's something it could be developed, but this way it's always contained within a system that's really cohesive. We love the seals because we feel like they have some sort of sense of heritage, they have an official feeling to them, but they also feel modern and friendly in their appearance. In terms of how some of this gets used, if you're looking at the website, you might see the logo up top, but a city seal at the bottom for the sign-off, or for independent department pages, you'll see their city seal. So they have a little chance to have more of a presence than just type. They can have their city seal on their pages.
Can you back it up? Let's see, one more. There we go.
Oh, sorry.
So where you're showing it kind of at the bottom of the web page, where there's white space around City of Waco and established 1849. Could you see a seal with that level, not the coloring, but that kind of inverted on the side of a vehicle or something like that?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? To where it's not as heavy circle around, but it's kind of I guess I would say that's a little more minimalist than the full color seal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's why we created this version, sort of the one color one, for both for practical use and also just if you want it to be able to sit back a little bit. So yeah, there's both options for that.
In our city vehicles, I think there's kind of like a minimal imprint on the side when they're using that seal. But I like the way y'all have laid this out, like the standardized across, and I like the way that you can put departmental names as opposed to putting the established 1849. I like this, but I just wanted to ask about that real quick.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely that flexibility, and we tried to make it so that it gives you those options for both for practical and aesthetic choices. Okay, and so then we could also use the seals for things like apparel or any kind of embroidery. Just to get into color a little bit, we tried to stay true to the heritage in using blues for our hero colors, but we also do have secondary tones that can be used for communications. You'll see in the next slide some examples of that, and some neutrals that are a little warm. We want things to feel kind of friendly. In terms of the blue palette, we have a range in there mainly because we wanted to give you guys templates for presentations that have some depth to them, and it's not just flat blue, but you can have crops of the logo in there and use different shades of blue in there, so there's a little variety. And then our typeface has a really broad range of weights, so that you can communicate a lot of different things with just one typeface and be consistent that way. So if you're making a presentation, you can use the secondary colors, and if you're making charts and graphs, and you can have a headline be using a condensed font, but the body copy is another one, but it all connects really well. And then in terms of giving you guys guidelines for if you're doing an event in town, or if you're making flyers or brochures or digital banners, giving you tools so that you can communicate in a consistent way, and not have to rethink every single thing you produce. You have some tools at the ready. And just as an overview, just getting a sense of how we have our blue is our hero, but we always have our warm pops of secondary colors as well. Just wanted to call out something that you've been seeing throughout the whole presentation, which is the crop. We're taking the Flying W and kind of celebrating it in backgrounds and using just sort of pieces of it. We love how it can be really graphically beautiful in different contexts and using color. And that's something that might be able to come into play on banners, and just any kind of graphic design use that you can imagine. So we really like the idea of celebrating those designs and taking the parts. I remember when we were first talking about why you guys like the Flying W, and people pointing out things about liking how the curve comes around the star and holds it in place, or it almost evokes a little feeling of a heart. And some of the crops help to emphasize those attributes. We also feel like it could be fun to play around with the Flying W and how it connects to people. We think, as Christina will speak to a little bit in the strategy work, we think one of the things that makes Waco the most special are the people, and we like the idea of really celebrating them in any campaign work that could happen. So getting back to strategy, Christina, I'll let you say a few words, and then I'll chime in towards the end and show some additional visuals.
Perfect. Thanks, Anna. So as you know, our story has long been told by outsiders. Outsiders who've defined this place by one moment in time, one group, one individual, or one perspective. But no place is just one thing. Waco is so much more. And it's time for Waco to tell its story. We are defined by the communities that come together to bring our city to life. And it's time for the people who've built and continue to nurture this place to come together to define its future. Our founders and farmers, our workers and makers, our artists and athletes, our helpers and our healers, our educators and allies, our families, and our future. The voice of our city. That dares you to define Waco by just one thing. And so what I just read to you was really more of an emotional manifesto that we took out of the insights during our discovery process and all of the research that we did, really kind of framing up what's in front of you now, which is our strategic foundation, right? And so a lot of this is written in a very strategic way to be the foundation of growth by which to communicate moving forward. And so the things that we really tried to really pin down and get solid, consistent language for were our differentiators, what makes us different, our purpose, why are we here and what are we doing, our core principles, the values and pillars that support us, and then our positioning, how do we talk about ourselves to the world. So for our differentiators, really, when we distilled it all down, it really is Waco is a destination for growth, where nature meets culture, big opportunities can become reality, and where people can live well and feel like they are at home. And when we drilled it down to purpose, as Anna alluded to earlier, really everything that Waco has been and does and will continue to do is really for its people, right? For us, that was the most remarkable insight out of all of the discovery work that we've done. So the purpose that we've landed on is to be a city of possibilities made for and by our people. Again, it's not growth for growth's sake, but really kind of keeping that in check with the folks that are here and present and a part of our city. And then for each of the core principles, these get a little bit more down in the weeds to help guide really a lot of the communications that Monica's team will be pushing out with this new brand work. But these core principles around really valuing everyone, right? Embracing the diverse facets of the city, nurturing opportunity, right? Creating space for new possibilities, but also being uplifting, supporting and empowering one another's individual and collective growth while staying grounded, right? Like really grounded in those timeless traditions of authenticity, goodness, kindness, but while also aspiring and innovating. And last but certainly not least, this idea of being resourceful, right? Strong and harnessing the full potential of our city and people to pave the way towards a bright and promising future. And then last but not least, we try to land on a positioning statement. Again, it's a little academic, but how do we succinctly talk about all of these things that we've uncovered in our strategy in a succinct way to the outside world? And for us, where we landed, that was really Waco being a city of possibilities where nature meets culture and big opportunities are always close at hand. Greater than the sum of its parts, Waco is a city defined by and for its people, a place that feels like home, where we all belong and thrive together. And so again, this is a very strategic framework. It's much like building a house. It's not the pretty paint or the furniture. It really is a foundation. So off the back of that, we've created a robust set of voice guidelines and measurement criteria that will help to guide all of the communications efforts off the back of this work. But more importantly, we really wanted to land on what's the one thing, right? Strategic foundations are great, but what's the one thing? If we have one chance to say something about Waco, what is it? And that's why we formed a tagline for you all. And for Waco, you know, it's really at the heart of our brand. We're a city to believe in. And if you break that down, that tagline and that singular statement of differentiation is really reflective of all the obstacles that we faced in the past as a city, all that we've overcome, and really highlighting the strength and resilience of the people of Waco. And the fact that we as a city have faith in our people to continually build a better future. And so again, lots more work. Anna's going to talk you through a little bit of expression and how some of this strategic framework and language comes to life, but we've developed robust guidelines as well to help the communications team make sure that we bring the strategic framework to life consistently across the board.
So Waco, a city to believe in. What are the ways that we can use this line to speak about what makes Waco special? So we started thinking about how can we use this word believe, right, in interesting ways. And we were blown away by all the things that we discovered in Waco when we came here, especially the parks. A park to rival all others, believe it. Olympic level surfing, believe it. A history 68,000 years in the making, believe it. Adventure on tap, believe it. A riverfront on the rise, believe it. And here are some initial sketches to imagine how we could inspire even more visuals around town using the tagline and just also bringing in some of the graphic elements that we talked about previously. So we like this idea of using our flying W and integrating it with imagery of people. So if we're showing an image of Waco as a whole, maybe it's not always just about showing a skyline, it's about finding ways to unite different images of people. So we take our flying W, we can create these kind of collages, and also link it all together with a city to believe in. We can also use our landscape and nature as something that bonds all of us and connects us. And we can use our graphic elements with our tagline as well. And we love the idea of doing a campaign and taking this and running with it, where you use photographic imagery of residents as well as even possibly their handwriting. So imagining the line, a city to believe in, being activated, a city to create in, a city to grow in, a city to thrive in, a city to believe in. And in this process, taking actually, crowdsourced handwriting from people who live in Waco, as well as images of real people, and really trying to celebrate the people that live here. Growth to believe in, goodness to believe in, traditions to believe in, a city to believe in. So really, going across, really celebrating the variety of people that live here. And then also, just to return to show some posters playing off this believe it concept where we feel like there's just so many great things we can call attention to. World-class surfing in Texas, believe it. Live music on the river, believe it. The city is our canvas, believe it.
Great. Well, thank you both, Anna and Christina, for kind of sharing the recommendations that we brought. So where do we go from here? What are our next steps? Obviously, Christina alluded to the various guidelines that we'll be receiving, from voice and message guidelines to logo usage, font usage, et cetera. But as we think through rolling out both these brand standards and guidelines citywide, we'll be working with our city departments on updating their designs, including any needed changes to the various logos that we currently have in use, and creating some consistency in image like you saw in this PowerPoint. This would also include working with our community, with organizations that have the city logo, and ensuring that they're using the proper usage and also the appropriate usage of that logo. We'll be coordinating with the departments within the city that don't use the Flying W. We've got various departments that are branded a little bit differently, and ensuring that we're working with them on brand standards and guidelines as they move forward as well, and developing any cohesion should that be needed as we look through what they're doing. And lastly, one of the exciting features that you've kind of seen some of this imagery, but really developing that brand campaign using that tagline and strategy to ensure that we're telling our story. So we thank you for the opportunity to present this to you this afternoon.
I want to jump in and say I'm really excited about this. I think that this has been a long road to get to this point, and I think that this is going to be really beneficial to our communications team and to our city at large to be able to really, in one level, just have a consistent, uniform, fresh, clean, solid logo, typeface, color scheme. That's going to be really beneficial and really, I think, bring a modernized impact to our communications. I really love at the end there where it says, a city to create in, a city to grow in, a city to thrive in. I loved those elements. I really liked the the one after that as well, and think that again, that with the tagline, there's so much that you can use with this tagline to really, I think, bring to life what Waco's about. So the professionalism that you've been able to bring to this has been really remarkable, and I'm excited about our being able to take this guidebook and deploy it.
So we're not supposed, I mean, he's excited because we're not supposed to speak before him.
Oh
or
my
after him. Sheesh. But
Passion projects.
all out of order. Thank you. I, as a person who, I know Mary and I have been talking about this for a very long time, about telling our story, us telling our story and not having it told to us and or about us. So I feel seen right now. Thank you. It's important how and why we do everything. And I don't know if people realize how letters are shaped means something. The color of an image means something. You said you didn't want the W to have a tight or compressed feeling. That's next level deep, right? I mean, because you don't want your city to feel tight or compressed, right? Right. And that means something, and that's that you took that you went that deep into it and took that much into account of reflecting our city properly in the image that we want to portray means something to me. I think that, first of all, somebody make the video of the emotional manifesto. I was thinking when she was reading, I said, this should be a video right now.
We might have one already created.
I mean, I didn't read it, so it doesn't count. No, I'm just playing.
Oh my goodness.
Shameless plug. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that that's one of those things that as we reintroduce the story and rebrand our city, that it's just easy. I think life in the manner of what it looks like on a t-shirt, this looks good on a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. All of it.
Yes, it does.
So I'm very well pleased.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Councilmember Bearfield and the mayor have already said. I like how you preserved the Flying W part of it. I mean, it's something we all wanted to keep, and how you kind of refreshed it and kind of emboldened it. And I think you made the messaging a little more portable with that City of Waco on there, and kind of you can use it in different places in different ways. More cohesive, more standardized, as Councilmember Bordard said. And I like the tagline, I really do. And I know this one kind of came as a genesis of different ideas, and it seemed like the first ones we had weren't quite resonating, but this one definitely resonates with me. I think it's a city to believe in, fantastic. Because there's so much uniqueness to the city and our cultural diversity, our belief in progress, our belief in a better future, and I like the subtle nod to we're a faithful people, we believe. So great job with this. I know you did a lot of work on it. Anna and Christina and Monica, I appreciate the fruits of your labor are very good here. Can't wait to get this mobilized.
Yeah, I'll add, I'm sorry, Alice.
I'm always last.
Okay. I appreciate it, and Councilmember Rodriguez may remember, I remember reading in the Waco Trib about council discussions about our branding and our logo, the Flying W, over a decade ago, and there was a brand consultant that came in and was talking about jettisoning the logo and doing away with it. And some of the council member discussion included, people getting this tattooed on their bodies. Seems to be pretty popular among our people. And I would echo that today, and that still seems to be the case with the Flying W. So I appreciate the design update that you did, which is essentially the exact same, but it's just will carry better in various medium. But I also want to say I really appreciate Monica and Loyal Casper, the work that you've done to hear us with this. As Councilmember Bearfield says, it seems like this doesn't feel like you are shopping a one-size-fits-all thing that you bring to other cities. This feels like you have learned about our city, and you have learned about who we are and what we value, and you have done a good job of helping us, as Councilmember Bearfield said, tell that story a lot better. So I feel that this is rooted in good research and good listening and bringing your expertise to that to help guide us as we rebrand. But I am really excited about kind of having standardized brands throughout city departments. I think that'll be much more effective, a more effective city government, more coherent city government. So I want to thank you all for your work on this.
I'll jump in and say that I really appreciate the hard work that goes into the business that you all are in consulting in this fashion and understanding that there are a lot of people in cities that really want to hold tight to what has been, and even if change that is positive and that is a greater good for the city as much as a branding can be. People still will fight and claw to keep what has been. So I think you guys and your ability to receive that feedback and not sort of scoff at it and move forward, but to take that in and really have that be a part of the work that you did in putting this all together. I really appreciate the time that you guys took to make sure that all voices were heard and that I feel that is shown in the work you guys have presented here today. Personally, I think it looks fantastic. I'm excited that we have a consistent color palette, a consistent sort of typeface that we can use in presenting ourselves as we travel throughout the country and throughout the state. And I feel really happy that this is something I can be really proud of as we are presenting our city to others. So thank you guys for the work on this. I think it looks great. I think to echo Councilwoman Barefield's comment of how excited the mayor is because he jumped in and spoke first. That's
Better live it down.
that's sort of the first sort of sign of something really great that you got going here. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
I echo and detail everything each of my council members has said about the Flying W. But this is one thing that I know I have, none of y'all have, is the first time I saw the Flying W outside of City Hall in Christmas lights. It did something to me. My heart just started beating and I was so excited about it and so proud of that Flying W that I said, wow, this represents Waco. This represents me, my community. So just to let y'all know, I appreciate all the work that you did, but my one little difference here is I really got to enjoy that Flying W the first time that y'all put it up on City Hall. That was awesome. You don't realize, I mean, we had talked about it as council members, but when I saw it up there, oh my God, it was awesome. And it's still awesome. So thank you so much for this.
I'll just wrap it up, and I think identity matters. I think that this will be something that our citizens can carry. The words that are utilized as these core principles, these value statements, this tagline, it's something that our citizens can carry. I think that's important. And I think that that'll also flow to visitors, to businesses thinking about coming here. And I think that, again, this is going to be something that our communications team will be able to use. And we have an incredible communications team. I just want to say how thankful I am for each of them and their creativity and their intentionality and their excellence. And so my hope is that this will be a really great tool that our really talented team can deploy in communications and potentially in CVB and other areas where we're really trying to get creative in how to use some of this great material that's been presented to us today. So thank you so much.
Mayor, can I ask a quick question that I forgot to ask
Yep.
of the consultants? Is the design that says City of Waco with the circle around the W, it says City of Waco established 1849, is that a proposed new city seal for us to use as formal
Probably
symbolism?
not formally at this point in time. Potentially, I think we could kind of cross that bridge. We have kind of the formalized city seal that we use, proclamations, that kind of stuff. And so this more is from a design element to be able to utilize that, and I don't need to speak on Anna's behalf, but that's kind of where we're leaning, similar to other opportunities that we might bring forth to you down the road as to, some potential changes that we've been looking at. I think that's one of those that are probably on that list as well.
Well, that's a question I'd actually have too, Monica, is what is implementation of this look like from your perspective? Do you have any thoughts around?
Yeah,
how to-
so there's definitely an internal and external component to it. Internally, we're working with my team on all of the logos that you see throughout the city, whether that's website, social media, designs, badges on, that we wear. So those kind of features and ensuring that we've got compliance without that piece. But then externally, how do we put this out there? How do we ensure and engage our community in this and have them feel like they're a part of it? And so that's some of the discussions that we're having right now is what does that phase look like? How do we put this out there in an intentional way? We've done all of this work to kind of get to this point where we want to make sure that as we move forward that we're doing it within that same vein and within that same light to make sure that the community is involved in that. One of the pieces that Anna did speak briefly about is, there's some of that handwritten script that you saw throughout some of this about reaching out to the community and having them submit their own handwritten script with a city to believe in. How do we utilize some of that and just, again, bringing them, into this fold and so making sure that they're a part of this.
That's great. Well, we look forward to that. I think that's important to bring the community on this and start getting this great content distributed in our community. So looking forward to that next phase and appreciate you for this presentation.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, Mayor and Council, this afternoon, we also have several exciting economic development items on the agenda for you. And Kent George and Jeremy Pacina are here this afternoon to provide an overview of these items.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Kent George, Economic Development Director with Jeremy Pacina, also on the Economic Development team. We have the pleasure tonight to present a few economic development projects. Mr. Pacina, can you kick us off?
All right. Well, today I'm presenting for you 3 proposed tax increment financing agreements and 1 proposed Chapter 380 sales tax agreement. The projects associated with these agreements that are on your agenda today are the following: Terry Black's Barbecue and Opal's Oyster Bar. And this project has a TIF and the 380 agreement proposed with it. The next project is the Texas Sports Hall of Fame proposed TIF agreement and a project located at 1001 Columbus Avenue. So Terry Black's Barbecue is a nationally recognized, award-winning, and celebrated Central Texas barbecue restaurant. They operate 3 locations in Texas: Austin, Dallas, and Lockhart. And their barbecue, because of demand, is available for shipment anywhere in the United States. Here are some facts about the demand. The 3 restaurants go through 3,500 briskets a week. That makes them the purchaser of about 20% of the prime brisket in the United States. Austin location is ranked in the top 10 top grossing restaurants in the United States. I share all that to say that Terry Black's has purchased land here in Waco, and they're planning on opening their 4th and best location here in Central Texas. This is the location. It's 228 South 8th Street. As you can see, it's right in the heart of our redeveloping downtown. It's right next to Union Hall, around the corner from AC Marriott, which is incoming. Pivovar is right down the road, as well as Magnolia Market. The Morrison Plumbing Supply building was there. They have moved out, and it has sat vacant for a few years. You can see in these pictures that the parking lot is deteriorating, as well as the outside of the building. The sidewalks are in need of renovation and repair. And because of the new tourist draws in our downtown, the streets in that area are in desperate need of repair. These pictures were taken last week. They are hard at work. This project has started. They've contracted with a local contractor to get the building renovated, and they've already got moving. The plan is to have them open in the first quarter of next year. So let me tell you about the project. As you can see, this project was, the Morrison Supply Building was about 12,000 square feet. They are going to take 11,000 square feet and turn it into the 4th Terry Black's Barbecue restaurant. It will also have a private event space. Another 1,000 square feet will be given to the first in-brand Opal Oysters Bar. And the unique way that this project is going forward is each restaurant will have its own entrance, its own seating area, its own patio area, but they'll share a kitchen, and then there will be a space added to the building to put in a walk-in cooler and make sure the kitchen has enough space. The Terry Black's patio area will also have space for dining It'll have space for games, beer garden, and their iconic pit house will be out front. So you'll be able to walk by and see and smell the brisket being cooked that people line up for. So as they revitalize this property, they will also revitalize the parking lot. They will put in new parking lot. They will put in new sidewalks, landscaping, lighting. The project will also repave the street surfaces surrounding the property, so 7th, 8th, and Mary Street. This project will create at least 60 new jobs, and the developers will invest a minimum of $12 million to get this project off the ground. On July 20th, the TIF board recommended funding this project in the amount of $904,419 to assist with public improvements associated with the Terry Black's Barbecue redevelopment project. These funds will go directly towards the public improvements, including sidewalks, lighting, street repaving, exterior masonry, and energy efficient windows. I do want to note for you that all the funds that are going to this project are created by the investment that they are putting in. So it's not money coming out of the TIF fund, it's money that they are going to create, and then it'll be reimbursed to them. The 380 proposed agreement here is a 75% of their annual sales tax that's generated at this property for 10 years. The cap on that amount would be $1,572,934. And that is the first project that we have for you. The next project that we have is a proposed agreement with the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. So the Texas Sports Hall of Fame is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Hall of Fame hosts national sports stars like Roger Clemens, Adrian Peterson, Michael Strahan, DeMarcus Ware, and Cynthia Potter. The Hall of Fame is home to over 400 Texas sports icons. It's home of the Texas Tennis Hall of Fame, the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, and the new Southwest Conference exhibit. Since its grand opening and move to Waco in 1993, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame has been located at 1108 South University Parks Drive. And just to give you in a sports context how long that's been, in 1993, the Dallas Cowboys were Super Bowl champions. So it's been a long time. I'm a fan.
Wow.
I'm a fan. I watch it on VHS.
Long time ago.
It hurts.
So
But
they've
true,
been
though.
here for a long. They've been here for a long time. They're right next to Baylor University's campus. They're across the street from the new Hurd Welcome Center. This is the current condition of our Sports Hall of Fame. As you can see in the pictures, the art on the outside is dated, but it's also faded and worn by the weather. It's not attractive as far as street appeal coming through into it. It needs landscaping updates, and you can see even the parking lot is in need of repair, repaving, and restriping. These are the proposed updates to the building. These updates would make the building more inviting from the street. It's also another way to celebrate the inductees by having their murals on the outside to celebrate their accomplishments and make the building more recognizable as a Sports Hall of Fame. The new signage on the street will also help capture new visitors and make the site easier to find. All around, these public improvements will help this cultural and tourist attraction continue to draw crowds, will make the building more aesthetically pleasing, and will help draw in private event rentals as well. On July 20th, the TIF board unanimously recommended funding in the amount of $358,240 to assist with the renovations associated with the Texas Sports Hall of Fame project. These funds will go to external renovations such as parking lot, landscaping, murals, lighting, and street signage. The final project that I have for you today is it's actually done by a local developer, Justin Soto and Demora Homes. This is a new construction project, which is a mixed-use building. It is located right here at 1001 Columbus Avenue, so it's right down the street from Columbus Avenue Baptist Church. It's right across the street from the former fire admin building. And this is the before pictures for this project. You can see the space is undeveloped. The sidewalks and parking lot are in need of updating. I will say that building that looks nice in the picture, Mr. Soto did that building. So that's why that one looks as nice as it does. Here is the proposed addition. The project will take the empty lot and transfer it into a mixed-use development, offering over 2,000 square foot of office and retail space and two-bedroom, two-bathroom living spaces on the second floor. It will match the building next door in color and architectural features. On July 20th, the TIF board unanimously recommended funding in the amount of $157,983.91 to assist with the renovations associated with the 1001 Columbus Avenue project. These funds will go to the public improvements associated with this project, such as the parking lot, landscaping, energy-efficient windows, sidewalks, driveway, lighting, and infrastructure. Those are the three projects that we had for you this afternoon. I will take questions if you have any.
No questions, Jeremy, great presentation, but just comments here. These are all three fantastic projects, and I just think it's representative of our commitment to downtown and how we are trying to build. These are this money is going to public spaces that we can all enjoy, and a lot of private investment that we can ultimately all enjoy through tax generation also. The Terry Blacks, you look at the 900,000 we're putting in there for public spaces that need to be improved. And I'm looking at the 12.3 million of investment that they're putting in there for a top-notch restaurant. The Texas Sports Hall of Fame, just a great organization with a great leadership, and it's due for a little facelift and some public space improvements. So I'm very supportive of that 350. And then the last one, that 1001 Columbus, a smaller one, but still building some office, retail, and residential right down there. All three of these projects are great. Appreciate it.
I think these projects are well deserving, especially the one on Columbus. I think that area needs a big uplift, and I think this is going to help that area. I know it's not my district, Darius, but he's looking at me kind of
Well, Terry
funny.
Blacks isn't my district, and I'm excited about that too, so.
Well, Terry Black and Texas Sports Hall of Fame is in District 2. But this area here really needs some help, and this is really going to help that area to bring more folks down there and possibly other businesses or other homes, apartments. But I think they're all three great projects. Thank you.
Said by Councilwoman Rodriguez, really excited to see really just excitement around these developments happening in and around downtown. I will say in the proposed art for the outside of the Sports Hall of Fame, I noticed the image of Vince Young crossing the goal line in the 2005 National Championship game, which is great, and I think, yeah, we should keep it. He's very deserving. And it's not as if we need more Robert Griffin III representation around Baylor, but there was no photo of him involved in any of those murals, and just throwing it out there would be nice.
I think they heard you.
Waco, I'll say that.
The only thing that I'll add is that while it's not a heavy quantity in the residential spaces that are above the office spaces, it is in line with a goal of this city's for a long time. So I think that any opportunity to do it and do it well will be received and shown as, you know, a potential beacon of what could happen and evidence of excellence. So I look forward to seeing that development come through so that maybe it can inspire others to do just that.
I just love how that Columbus Avenue development looks. I mean, it looks like a proper downtown historic building, and that's going to be really great, I think, again, to bring some revitalization to that area. Terry Black's Barbecue is a great spot. It's going to draw a ton of people off the highway. I mean, one way to look at that in a way that benefits us is not just by having another barbecue restaurant. It's by a lot of sales tax that our city will be able to generate from that, and it is
How many
definitely.
briskets you said?
3,500 briskets a week.
Sales
few.
tax on that alone.
I mean, it is going to bring a lot of folks, and so we're really excited to support that, and really grateful for that group's investment into Waco. That's a bellwether too. That's you know, when other retail and restaurant, and we want to definitely support our homegrown retail and restaurant in this community, no doubt about it. We'll continue to do that. But when out of market people hear about organizations like that coming into ours, they start getting excited about that too. So it really is a way to kind of grow a diversified economy. So these are really great projects, and I appreciate the time staff has put into it. I appreciate these organizations continuing to have faith in our community, and look forward to supporting these. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all. So next, Mayor and Council, we will have an update from Nicholas Sarpy and Galen Price, and they'll provide an update on our federal funding received through the state and local federal fiscal recovery funds program, as well as the American Rescue Plan funding program.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So as Deputy City Manager Emerson mentioned, we're going to give you an update on the American Rescue Plan Act state and local fiscal recovery funds. So we wanted to start with the Act history and take you through current, including project status updates. So the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, was signed into law on March 11th, 2021, and it established the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, which are here denoted as SLFRF funds, and it provided $350 billion to eligible state, cities, territories, tribal governments to mitigate the fiscal impacts related to COVID-19. As part of the act, it required the U.S. Department of Treasury to provide the jurisdictions with the rules that surrounded the use of the funds. The city of Waco, as part of the allocation, received $34.7 million and 2 payments spread out over 12 months. So the act had 4 separate eligible use categories and 2 prohibited uses. So the eligible uses included responding to the public health emergency related to COVID-19, as well as its negative economic impacts, providing premium pay for eligible workers, providing government services, which is better known as revenue loss, and to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. The act prohibited governments from depositing funds directly into pension funds or using it as a non-federal match for federal programs that barred the use of federal funds for a match. So in January of 2022, the Treasury issued its final rule over the use of the funds. It outlined the requirements for the use of the funds, and it required the funds to be obligated by December 31st, 2024, and expended by December 31st, 2026. So in December of 2022, as part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2023, Congress amended the state and local fiscal recovery plan uses and added 3 additional eligible uses that could be done related to responding to natural disasters, building critical infrastructure, and supporting community development. These amendments didn't remove any of the original 4 uses, so the funds can still be used within those same original 4 planned. So on August 4th of this year, Treasury issued their interim rule related to what is known as the ARPA Flex, where the 3 additional uses were. So the emergency relief related to natural disasters, hazard mitigation, surface transportation projects, and Title I projects, which pretty much encompass all of CDBG eligible projects. At this point in time, just because Treasury just issued their final rule, and the tendency of Treasury to become more lenient with their final rules, as was seen with their first go-around, we are still evaluating all of our options as it relates to the city's funding plan related to the ARPA Flex rules. So the City of Waco funding plan. So the initial funding plan for the City of Waco was approved on October 19th, 2021. It was developed utilizing feedback from residents and the community through a budget simulation tool, as well as through council feedback. The plan was amended on February 1st, 2022, following the issuance of the final rule, and has been amended 3 additional times since then. So this slide just shows the funding that has been allocated based on the funding categories that are in the final rule. So you'll see the majority of the funding is within the responding to the public health and negative economic impacts of COVID-19 category, with what's been allocated to date, almost $10 million to the replacing lost public sector revenue. So this slide shows in pie chart the allocation based off of the project types. So you'll see 40% of the funding is related to housing, 16% is responding to public health expansion and support. That includes the Waco Family Medicine contribution as well as the Behavioral Health Networks Crisis Hub. 18% is allocated to the STEAM Center project, and lower amounts to various other projects. So expenditures to date. So as mentioned earlier, the city received $34.7 million. We've allocated the funding to across the board to a variety of different projects. To date, we've spent or encumbered $14.4 million of it, leaving about $20 million that's not been committed or spent. And when we say committed, that means encumbered with the contract coming to council. So what we wanted to do was reconcile the balance that hasn't been committed or spent down to what is truly uncommitted funds at this point. So of the $20 million, $7.3 million is related to the lost public sector revenue. $4 million is related to the community Wi-Fi public broadband project. $3 million has been allocated to the East Waco slab development, $875,000 to the LaSalle project, and $620,000 related to the We All Win small business program, leaving a final total of about $8.1 million that's not committed or assigned to any specific project. So project status updates.
Nicholas, can I ask a question?
Sure.
On the description on tiny houses, on the, yeah, what tiny houses are those are the ones on North 6th, or where are those at, Galen?
That is in support of the Mission Waco Creekside Village project on University Parks that they're proposing. That was the assistance with the acquisition of the property.
Okay, and there's another one, the next one, maybe it was it. LaSalle Avenue, is that on University Parks and LaSalle Avenue, is that where that's going?
No, that is located in I believe it's the 18th Street, 12th Street, in LaSalle Avenue area to redevelopment.
Okay, thank you.
And Galen, I don't want to get ahead of your presentation, but on the true uncommitted or I assume that means unspent funds as well, correct? Like that's $8 million that has not been allocated yet or spent. Okay. So with that, I mean, are we still at a place of kind of like make Shark Tank like pitches for that money, or is there like a strategic? Are we getting there with the presentation? Because I assume we've got a timeline to allocate or spend, right? By is it 2024, sometime in 2024?
First, 2024.
Okay. And is that where this presentation is heading? For those unspent?
We do have some projects that could potentially take care of some of those unspent dollars. There are items such as home rehabilitation and down payment assistance that can be in support of some of the bigger projects that we're proposing that would take care of some of that uncommitted or spent dollars at this time.
But so basically there are projects under review by city staff that would be able to spend all of the federal dollars within the time frame, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not a concern at this point to city staff that the money would go unspent from the
No,
federal government?
not-
Okay. Okay, thank you. If we're not going to talk about it, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
we all know that there's a game plan there.
Don't want to leave a single dollar that the federal government has brought to the community on the table.
Absolutely, yeah. That's all I was interested. Thank you.
And this,
I'm sorry, Jaime.
I'll jump in on this, Alicia. And this was a conversation I had in the preview of this, but I wanted to just make sure that the 8 million, I'm reconciling from page 140 to page 141, where we're showing the 20,305,841, and that's the top number. And the big one in there that I think we all want to make sure stays front and center is the STEAM Center. And I don't know if the STEAM Center is considered in the true uncommitted, or is it?
So the STEAM Center dollars are included in the unspent lost public sector revenue. So.
Okay, they're in the top number, they're at 7.2. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that, all right, I'm with you. 'Cause,
Thank you for that.
yeah, when I was reading this the first time through, I thought, wow, that is definitely committed, but, all right, I get it.
On
But, go ahead.
On the home rehabilitation, do we have a waiting list for that? Are folks actually applying for those grants, or how is that working, Galen?
Yes, we do have people that are applying for those grants. We actually have, from a home rehab standpoint, we are working through at least 10 individuals who have applied for ARPA funding under home rehabilitation, and we're working through that process now. That is not going to show up right now as committed or spent because we don't have them in an agreement just yet, but that we are receiving applications in regards to that funding. And again, we anticipate on receiving more as we undertake some of these redevelopment projects in and around some of these targeted areas.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the project status updates. So one of the projects that was allocated funding is the utility generators. So 5 backup generators were ordered in August of 2022, and the generators have a 16-month delivery timeline. So expect to receive them end of this year or early part of 2024. The community center resiliency design services contract was awarded in June of 2023. And then the job training funding that was provided to MCC, all that work has been completed. So artist support. So Creative Waco has created an online application and they've awarded their first grants. And so we've included some pictures from some of the grantees that we received from Creative Waco. So Waco Family Medicine, their expansion, they're still doing their fundraising. Building design is complete and the project CO is expected to be May of 2024. And the city has fully funded its portion.
Is that on the North 18th?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that construction's coming along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, the Behavioral Health Network Crisis Hub, it's expected to be completed this quarter, and we fully funded the city's portion.
Yeah, I think we've got a ribbon cutting that's in the works for mid-October on this one, so it's
Nice.
almost ready to go.
All right, so public broadband. The project in total covers 8 facilities across the city, including the South Waco Community Center and Library, the East Waco Library, the Central Library, Doris Miller, the Multipurpose Center, Dewey, and Bledsoe Miller. Some of these are not necessarily funded with ARPA, but the whole project includes all these facilities. And they're part of the community Wi-Fi initiative that IT is carrying out in conjunction with Galen's team. The STEAM Center, the architectural services contract is on the agenda for tonight, with design completion based on the agenda item expected in February of 2024.
I know this isn't a question for you, and I guess I'll make note to have it updated on a future agenda item, just an update on the broadband status and how it's being utilized within those are they, how is it going? I just would like an update on that. Sorry, Nick.
Other projects include the We All Win, which was launched as a pilot program back in August of 2022, then launched citywide in January of this year. And so with the help of community partners and staff, we've been able to assist 117 businesses to date with an average award of around $24,000. Now, of all the businesses that have been awarded, 70% have been minority and/or women-owned businesses. Also of note that we have been able to retain 301 jobs and created another 168 jobs through this funding to date.
Probably ought to pause on that for a moment of dramatic, because that's major. That's major. That's a story to tell. Because this was in a time where people didn't know how they were going to sustain their businesses. And, but this coupled with barriers to success have really made an impact on our small businesses. I think Waco is what Waco is because we're not one specific industry driven. And the thing that strengthens our economic stability is our local businesses, our mom and pop businesses, our small business entities that are necessary for our community to sustain, but that we were able to do this with them, not for them, but with them, to speak to especially our minority and women-owned businesses who oftentimes don't get any particular designations or potent grant funding from cities, but we were able to do this. So I just think that that's really important, that this particular point is highlighted in time. I stand proud to say that District 1 was the pilot program for this, and the evidence of it working was a catalyst for us when we went citywide, and the agencies that worked with the businesses, our nonprofit partners who kind of walk folks through this, because it can get complicated, when you're when you're asking for information and this, why does the city need to know that? I mean, how many questions, how many calls why do they need to know this? Well, because if you want this money, then you've got to provide this information. And so not only, because I think this manifested out of y'all's office, city management team, and, so you all were leading this charge and created this program, to then be, enhanced with your department, Galen, and just bringing in the partners who are able to work with those business owners and help them through that is just, amazing and should be acclaimed more and mentioned more, but it was a big deal. And so I need you to know that we think it's a big deal.
Yep. I think we want to build a diversified economy and have a diversified approach to do that. We want to have different tools in our toolkits.
Yeah.
And so when we get a big Amazon plant that's going to have 1,000 good paying jobs, we're going to have a tool to incentivize that. And then when we have mom and pops that want to bring vibrancy and creativity and life to our community, we want to have a tool for that too. And it's not only the lifeblood of our city, these are not only our residents that we're supporting, but it feeds into the other thing too, because when you look at companies that are big companies that are going to, pay big property tax bills on a big factory, they say, well, one of the first questions we ask is, our workforce asks is, what's the life like here? Like, what's the quality of life here? Mm-hmm. And small business certainly feeds into building that, that quality of life and culture.
In regards to affordable housing, we have a project expected to begin in October of 2023, which is the Page Estates, which is a senior housing development. Potential projects forthcoming include, as previously mentioned, the East Waco slab property and LaSalle Avenue, as well as redevelopment of city property along 12th Street and 15th Street. Other projects will include down payment assistance and housing rehab, with assistance being centered around upcoming development in East and South Waco.
All right, future updates. So it is our intent to come back to you in March of 2024 with an updated project update and the status of the spending of the funds. And then quarterly thereafter, we will provide you updates on the usage of the funds. Any additional questions?
Any questions?
I'll just jump in, Holmes here. Yeah, we got this 35 million, which is Fed funds theoretically, but I mean, these are, I think taxpayers from Waco pay federal dollars and these funds are coming back. And I really appreciate, staff's trying to figure out how to best, first of all, the regs were fairly complex. And you had to make a square peg fit into a round hole in some cases, so we had to figure out what fits, what doesn't. They were evolving regs, as you pointed out, it had a couple different iterations. So I really appreciate staff figuring that out and figuring out what fits and how you made it fit. Some of our basic projects that we're working on, like the Behavioral Health Crisis Hub, the Waco Family Medicine, broadband, housing, STEAM Center, our We All Win program. I mean, these are all things that are at the heart of what we're trying to get done here in Waco, and we're using these ARPA dollars for that. So I appreciate your efforts on making that all work. And I know that we are got to be laser focused on the timeline and the expenditures. I know you guys are, and I appreciate it. I had written down, let's make sure we get updates, and you already had that on the last slide, so I appreciate you thinking of that. But there already we're hearing about some municipalities getting up against this end date and not having it spent. So we definitely, as the mayor mentioned.
They have said they have done whole workshops at National League of Cities about cities and towns and villages who haven't spent their money.
Yep. So I appreciate y'all staying ahead of it and keeping us posted on it too. But yeah, great work. And again, I love how you made all this fit.
Thanks, guys. This is really a helpful update. And again, as I said a second ago, I look forward to figuring out how we can deploy those dollars into our community thoughtfully as we've done to date.
Thank you all. Now, Mayor and Council will have Clint Peters.
He was trying to make decisions. Just making
sure we're on the same page.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. We are going to change this presentation up a little bit and just highlight 3 of the public hearings. But I did want to say we have 9 tonight. They're all recommended for approval by the Plan Commission. 3 of them are short-term rentals, 2 rezonings, 3 abandonments, and an ordinance change. And I'll highlight 3 of them, but if you have questions about any of them, we have them in the deck and can expand and cover any questions that you might have. So the first one I wanted to highlight is 709, public hearing 709. These are some properties at Elm Avenue at the corner of Elm and Clifton. Applicant is yours truly, Custom Homes LLC, and then the City of Waco. Not me. That might disqualify me. And then the City of Waco owns a property adjacent to the applicant's lots and expanded it to include the whole block there for rezoning to C3 to O3. C3 is a general commercial district, and then the O3 is more of a mixed-use, low-intensity district. And there's some existing buildings on this property that are out of conformance with the C3, so the applicant wanted to request rezoning to bring them into compliance. So one of them is this home that they're in the process of renovating them right now, and then there's a commercial building that used to be a body shop, I believe, and they're wanting to renovate that and turn it into more of a compatible commercial use on that corridor.
Clint, are
And then
these
the
kind of
city-
like, Clint, is this kind of like that stretch of Washington Avenue where there's kind of like legal non-conforming properties that they don't match how it should be because the zoning was laid on top of an existing
Very
use?
similar, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the city owns the vacant lot, so we expanded it to include all those properties. There was no opposition to it, and the Plan Commission recommended approval of it. The next one that I wanted to highlight is actually in the same area. This is application by Waco BRC Tejas LLC for the abandonment of a portion of Pleasant Street and then some old alley right-of-ways. This is the Tejas logistics site. You can see all that area in yellow are old right-of-ways. Tejas Logistics been there a long time, and actually the buildings are built over the right-of-ways, and so they're trying to clean all that up. There's a new owner, consolidate all for future development of site. They're also wanting to abandon Pleasant Street, which is the entrance into the site off of Taylor. This is the street that we're talking about, and we didn't take any pictures of the alleys because they're all covered by buildings currently. And this is just looking back to Taylor, so everything from Taylor back into the site would be abandoned. There are some utilities to the site, so we will need to retain some easements, but otherwise, Plan Commission recommended approval of that one as well.
So the abandonment of that street, what does it mean for future use?
So, currently, right now, it is a public street, but
Correct.
it's mainly
Their street
used for
to do the-
theirs.
yes.
Yeah, so this would allow them to eventually, if the utilities are moved out of the way, where you could potentially build on that, you could relocate the entry into it. It just takes it off the public street inventory.
Thank you.
Gives them a little more flexibility on future development of the site. And then the last public hearing is the ordinance change. This is something that's brought to you by City of Waco. This would allow auto dealerships as a special use permit in C2 zoning district. Currently, they are allowed in our C3, C5, and then by special permit in M2. Our comprehensive plan recommends that eventually the C3 and C5 zoning districts would be eliminated, or no new C3 or C5 would be created, and that commercial uses that are allowed in those two zoning districts but not allowed in C2 should be considered to be allowed by special permit in C2. And so that's what we're doing here. The special permit does give the city, provides enhanced development standards, and then it lets us look at the specific plans. And so this would add a definition for a full-service automobile dealership, and then it has some qualifiers on it. It has to be at least 5 acres in size and along a limited access highway, and those are roadways like I-35, Highway 6, Loop 340, Highway 84, and then it puts it in the special use category for C2. And staff and Plan Commission recommend approval of that change.
So Clint, on this one, ultimately, the overall plan is to phase out C3 and C5. Currently on C3 and C5, if you have a full-service automobile dealership, that is allowed by right?
By right.
Okay,
Yep.
and
Yep.
if you want one under C2, and going forward, you have to meet 5 acres in size along a limited access highway, in order to apply for the special permit.
In order to apply for it, and then the special permit process requires them to submit their plans, so there could be additional conditions placed on those special permits based on, situations that happen on specific sites as well.
Okay, thank you.
So, and if you think about all the car dealerships along Loop 340 right now, they're all either plan unit developments or special permits at M2. So it's kind of the same treatment that you see for those that are existing carried towards the C2 as well.
So most dealerships currently are under some sort of like council-approved
Correct.
Permit. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with this.
Any other questions on any of the other zoning matters or not zoning matters, public hearings?
Nope.
Very good. Thanks, Clint. Are there any requests for future agenda items? If not, we will recess the work session or reconvene regular session for executive session as read into the record by the city secretary at 4:30 PM.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council will go into executive session in accordance with the following provisions. Personnel, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.074, nomination and appointment of individuals to the McLennan County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Real Property, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.072, and Economic Development, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.087. We are now in executive session.